Hi, I'm Tamar Oriel Beery, Deputy Editor-in-Chief of the Jerusalem Post, and my column this week is about Hanukkah, and comparing the story of Hanukkah to the current plight of the hostage families. Um, as you know, the Maccabees fought against an enemy far larger and stronger than them in order to ultimately free their people, setting controversies about what the intent behind Maccabees fighting was aside. The ultimate point was that the Jewish people were oppressed, were being put in unfair conditions in the state that God gave them, in the homeland that was given to them by divine intervention. And they were being taken hostage, they were being unfairly treated, and my column basically compares that to the plight of the hostages and also the hostage families who are fighting for freedom for their loved ones, while also facing a leadership that they do not feel that they are getting an adequate response from.
You're bringing up an interesting power dynamic, the hostage families and the hostages. Who are they really up against?
Right. A lot of the feeling that the hostage families are experiencing are less Hamas focused right now because we experienced October 7th. We went through this massacre, we went through this mass kidnapping. But now, when it comes to the next step, the day after that we've been in for over a year now, they're not getting any response by the forces that be in the state that should be ultimately fighting for this freedom, right? That their supposed fighters, their Maccabees, that are supposed to be bringing their people back home safe, they do not see their response as adequate. They do not feel that they are fighting for them as they are supposed to and championing them as they're supposed to. And ultimately, their loved ones, those hostages, are being held in those atrocious conditions, in cellars and bunkers and tunnels and what have you. Experiencing, some of the worst trauma known to man, and our leaders are, in the hostage families' experience, or at least in the vast majority who are outspoken, they're idle.
Can you give some reasonings and examples that lead the hostage families to think that Israel's leadership's not doing enough?
Well, Israel's leadership has been in hostage negotiations and ceasefire negotiations for far, far, far too long. This kind of conflict shouldn't have gotten, in their opinion, to the state and escalation that it has. It's expanded massively. We're not talking about just Gaza anymore, but also what's happening in Gaza is a very, very massive operation. And each hostage family, you can almost see where their opinions lie on a sort of scale of a map of Gaza, where we should have stopped expanding our operation, our fighting, and when we should have almost linearly stopped the fighting, reached a point of agreement, reached a ceasefire, and gotten the hostages out ultimately. But none of those opinions, none of those sort of milestones of this war have marked the end of it so far, and in their eyes, at least in a lot of those who have been outspoken, the Israeli government has a vested interest in keeping this war going, because the second that an agreement is brought about, then the Israeli people are going to once again become more vocal than ever in calling for an election. Ultimately, an election is most probably going to come about, and this government is less likely to get the majority as they did in the last election, which was a sweeping victory for them.